You know that feeling when everything just clicks? Your mind is sharp, your mood is steady, your body feels like it's firing on all cylinders. That's not luck, that's what your body is capable of every single day. Now, I've looked into a lot of fish oil supplements, and honestly, most of them are mystery-sourced, over-processed, blasted with heat, and packed with synthetic add-ins. But this one is different. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health starts with wild Alaskan salmon and cod, sustainably caught from some of the cleanest waters on the planet, and then it's processed at low temperatures to preserve what actually matters. We're talking about real omega-3s, naturally occurring vitamins A and D, and pro-resolving mediators, or PRMs, that help your body balance its own immune response. What does that mean for you? Clearer thinking, more stable mood, and real nature-based support for your heart and immune system. No shortcuts, no synthetic nonsense. And it was developed by Dr. Jeffrey Bland, a true pioneer in the world of complementary health. If you want to feel the difference, go to bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and use code Hoffman for 20% off site-wide. Once you feel it, you'll know. Welcome back to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman. It's our weekly opportunity to field your questions. Questions come to questions@drhoffman.net. And we previously were talking about coronary artery screening and its implications for cardiovascular prevention. I think that that's a good test. Some people say, why bother with that test? If somebody has high cholesterol, we should just treat everybody with cholesterol-lowering medication. The problem with that is that some people who have very high cholesterol don't have any cardiovascular disease. I'm a bit of a case in point because my cholesterol is in the range where it would be recommended that I take a statin. It sometimes runs as high as like 235. Lately, it's been like low 200s. I'm a male, older male. So the general recommendation is like lower your cholesterol. But I had the test a few years back and I have zero plaque. So it makes no sense to take a statin, especially at my age, because it would take, another 40, 50 years for me to develop cardiovascular disease from a zero, and I don't plan to live long.
Dr. Hoffman, the trend is that I've seen in my clients who come screaming with their hair on fire saying, I have a zero plaque, but my doctor still wants to put me on a statin.
I know.
I'm talking about middle-aged females.
I know.
What is going on?
Well, let me give you an instance, okay? And this is a vignette, and I'm going to, make it an anonymous vignette. It's a family member. And I've been following this family member since she was in her 30s, and she would get blood tests. And she had high cholesterol. At various times, she had a cholesterol over 300, but she also had an extraordinarily high HDL. An HDL that at times was like 128 or 132. It was extraordinarily high. And so in those days, I said, look, you're bulletproof. You have such a high HDL that I'm not worried about your cholesterol. And oh, by the way, she's non-diabetic. She's lean. She's pretty physically active. She's not hypertensive. And she doesn't have a strong family history of cardiovascular disease. So I said, don't worry. But lately I said, I still see that your cholesterol's high, and I think her HDL is still over 100. But I said, we have some new think about HDL, and there's what's called a U-shaped curve of HDL. Is low HDL bad? HDL around 65, 70, 75, generally protective, especially in females. Not always, but somewhat protective statistically. HDL very high is often protective, but is less protective, may not be protective. So I said, I think you should check it out. So get a coronary artery calcium score. She's 51. She's not yet menopausal. And, we know that women usually don't, unless they're diabetic or hypertensive or obese, they don't usually get cardiovascular disease prior to menopause. That's when they become comparable to men hormonally. They lack estrogen and they get more accelerated cardiovascular disease. So that usually when women get cardiovascular disease, generally later than men because they have more protective time under the influence of their reproductive hormones. So she's 51. And so we do the test, and she has a score of like 13. Score of 13. Now, that's very low. For somebody, a 75-year-old who comes in to see me, I would say, great. That's pretty darn good. However, for a 51-year-old female, that's in the 90th percentile. They're about 89% of women don't have plaque at 51. Huh?
Okay.
So this kind of scared her, and we had a long sit down, and I said, look, this is, she said, first question is, am I going to have a heart attack? And I said, no way. Don't worry. You're fine. But guess what? You plan to live what? Another 30 years or so? Yeah. Conservatively, maybe 40 years. During that time, especially if you go through menopause, you're going to have some accelerated risk of cardiovascular disease. And I explained that the plaque is a little bit like, it's like when it starts to snow, you know how it is on New York sidewalks when it starts to snow. And I look out the window and I go, but it ain't sticking. Well, maybe for an hour it ain't sticking, or even an hour and a half, but eventually it starts to stick. And once it sticks, it starts to accumulate much faster. And once you lay down a calcium bed in your coronary arteries, there's acceleration of calcium deposition, and atherosclerosis accelerates at double-digit rates, percentage-wise per year. So we actually entertained the discussion that maybe she should go on a statin at this time. And, now ordinarily, so this kind of shows that I'm kind of, as an integrative doctor, am I a traitor to the cause of integrative medicine by suggesting taking a medication
Absolutely
in a young,
not.
healthy woman? No, because there really is a rationale in this case. Now, my hope was that she would have a zero plaque and that high HDL would be protective. But there is this thing of HDL that's very high is sometimes less protective than moderate HDL. There's different types of HDL. And
it's got to be Goldilocks.
Yeah.
It can't be too low and it can't be too high. There's something about the 70s that is just right, apparently. 70s, 80s, 90s. Over 100 is kind of the anomaly.
Right.
Except in hypothyroidism or something. But I don't know.
So the other thing is that, and this maybe gets to the next question is that we have in our inbox. She had an ApoB of 99. Now, the cutoff for ApoB is, we like to see it under 100, but preferably under 90. ApoB is a pretty strong composite risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Again, we have to look at it in context. Is the person obese? Is the person sedentary? Is the person hypertensive? The person diabetic? Do they have metabolic syndrome, high insulin? It's inflammation, LP little a, homocysteine, you name it, all those things. And, have a smoking history, blah, blah, blah. What's their diet? What's their diet is important too. And by the way, this gal's diet is pretty impeccable, although, it's a little bit of a sweet tooth. So let's talk about the next question. Good point at which to introduce that.
Right. John says, my blood test results are always in range, with the exception of Apolipoprotein B. How do I get that down? How concerned should I be about that?
Okay.
How do I lower it?
So ApoB is a carrier protein for cholesterol that is comprised mostly of the so-called bad LDL, but is also takes into account VLDLs and triglycerides to some extent. And so it's a good composite risk factor. In fact, it probably matches up more with risk than LDL alone. So when ApoB is high, I don't know what he considers high. He didn't say what it is, right?
Yeah, he doesn't say what it is, but he gives us some other numbers, which are in range,
So what's the best way to lower it?
Oh, wait. Here it is. My last three ApoBs were 149, 177, and 123.
Those are whopping high ApoBs. They're well over 100. So there's a very high likelihood this person will develop premature cardiovascular disease with those numbers. So that should be, that's a great pickup. That should be fixed.
That needs to be fixed. How do we lower it? That's his question.
You can lower it with statins, you can lower it with PCSK9 drugs, and you can lower it with bempedoic acid. Bempedoic acid, excuse me, which is a non-statin cholesterol lowerer. And are you disappointed, folks, that I'd said that you need to use a drug? No, you don't need to use a drug. You can somewhat lower it with red yeast rice. Red yeast rice will do it.
That is a statin too, to some degree.
It is a statin. That's how statins were discovered, from red yeast rice. They were isolated from red yeast rice. The first statin, lovastatin, is a derivative of red yeast rice. By the way, the European Union version of the FDA, which is called EFSA, the European European Federation for Standards something, is about to recommend that they ban red yeast rice. Now, that's kind of
in favor of
in favor of statins. In favor of, like, they say, don't take the health food store thing, take the real thing. Now, to me, that's kind of hypocritical, because they're talking about making statins over the counter. So why would they ban a natural statin that people can buy in a health food store, and at the same time say, okay, that's banned, now go to a drugstore and just get your over-the-counter Crestor, which I think is coming down the pike eventually. They petitioned the FDA to make it available, and I think it's going to, in the next 5 years, it will be, if not sooner, people will be able to take a statin over the counter. So, look, there's side effects to statin. You can get rhabdomyolysis. You can get liver problems. You can get severe aches and pains. You can have cognitive problems, especially if you're old and frail. But could you lower ApoB with exercise? Yeah, a little bit. Could you lower it with like a superlative diet? Yeah, a little bit. But it is actually more of a genetically determined thing.
Interesting. Yeah.
And this guy, here's a guy who's got, a rip-roaring high ApoB.
It's interesting. So, well, John, there you go. Maybe you need a statin. You need some kind of intervention, likely.
Yeah.
Stay on top of it, right? Yeah. I mean, his lipoprotein a is good. His HDL is good.
I don't know how. See,
all the other things are good.
That surprises me. That surprises me is that everything else lines up, and then he has an isolated elevated ApoB, because usually ApoB somewhat reflects aberrations in those parameters too. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, his LDL was kind of on the high side too, in the mid 150s.
Well, that's
to the 130s.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high.
Yeah, that could be why, right? That impacts the ApoB.
Yeah.
How much does homocysteine impact that? Because his homocysteine's an 11. None at all.
Not really.
His homocysteine could be better.
It could be better, and that's a risk factor that is entirely different and could be handled different. Okay, so I think we have a question. Before we want to allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share a message, but we'll do that in a second, because I think there's a question that suggests a downside to taking statins. So maybe statins are not just like, drinking spring water.
Okay.
We have that question?
Yes, I do.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay. First, are we going for a break for one of our sponsors?
If you insist. We'll keep our audience in suspense.
I think so.
Okay, so thanks for the tease. So okay, here we go.
I'm looking at the time is all. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do a short break to allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message. Here goes. You know that feeling. You're exhausted, but your brain just won't quit. You're staring at the ceiling, watching the clock, dreading the morning. Here's something that actually helps. It's called Kyolic Specialty Series Sleep Mushrooms Plus. And it's unlike anything you've tried before. This isn't some chemical sleep aid that leaves you foggy and dragging the next day. This is a clean botanical formula built around certified organic reishi mushrooms grown on real farms, not in a lab, combined with valerian root to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer, L-theanine to quiet that racing mind, and Kyolic aged garlic garlic extract, one of the most trusted wellness ingredients available for circulation and stress support. It's vegan, non-GMO, no gluten, no dairy, no artificial anything. Just 2 capsules, 2 hours before bed, and you wake up actually rested, not groggy, not out of it, just refreshed. Kyolic Sleep Mushrooms Plus from Wakanaga. Learn more about this and the entire Kyolic Mushrooms Plus line at kyolic.com. That's KYOLIC.com. Look for Kyolic at natural health stores nationwide and online. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining our sponsors. They are what make intelligent medicine continuing free resource. And we appreciate our partnership with these purveyors of quality supplements. All right.
Okay.
So the question is about somebody took a statin drug and then something happened. What happened?
Yes. Dear Dr. Hoffman and Leyla, I've listened to you for decades, and I know you'll help with this dilemma because we are really worried. My husband's an athlete, 5'10", weighs 148.
Wow. Hey, look, I'm 5'10", and I weigh 165 on a good day. So this guy's real lean guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after seeing that he had a calcium score of 121, determined blockage all in one lower artery, he passed his nuclear stress test, all of that. He had his A1C, his hemoglobin A1C, which is an average marker of blood sugar over a 12-week period, leapt from 5.7 to 6.1. This happened after starting a statin. Now, she's asking, would you lower his statin to 3 times a week? What else can we do to prevent A1C from going higher?
Yeah.
We already eat low carb.
Yeah, this is an interesting question because it is one of the known effects of statins that you can lose a little bit of blood sugar control, particularly in women. It's less common in men.
Yeah.
So
it's true. More common in women.
So is it reasonable to trade one risk factor for another? So on the one hand, we're lowering cholesterol in a guy who has plaque, and that seems advisable, right? But we're increasing blood sugar, which is a known risk factor for atherosclerosis. So is it for naught that he's taking the statin? And, this is kind of a clinical dilemma. Generally,
there's one more note. Hang on, Dr. Hoffman.
Going. Yeah.
He was given Crestor 5 milligram.
That's very low.
Is that enough?
That's very low.
Is that enough to impact his A1C the way it did?
Probably not. Here's one. The one thing I'll point out is this is a one-off, and there is a possibility that the results were wrong or misreported or, so I would repeat that hemoglobin A1C.
He had his blood drawn while he was sick. That could cause an A1C to go up. Was your husband
only if you were sick for
only
no, not so much because it would have to be of a fairly long duration to affect the red blood cells,
Okay.
So, but with C-reactive protein, yes, but not with the hemoglobin A1C. When you're sick, inflammation can affect it. Exercise can affect C-reactive protein. So, he's an athlete.
C-reactive protein was very good, 0.2.
That's great. Yeah. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it. I think I would adhere to the dose of the statin, repeat the hemoglobin A1C, call us back in 3-4 months when you do that. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to probably see. I bet next time you do it, it's going to be back under 6. Now, here's what's interesting: is why should an athletic guy who's lean have even a 5.9? What's going on there?
5.7.
5.7. That's like already in the pre-diabetic.
And after just 5 months of taking a Crestor 5 milligram,
No, but the 5.7 was before.
Yeah, 5.7 was before.
So this guy, it looks like this guy's got a little bit of a predisposition to some blood sugar issues anyway. Sure. And this is what I would do. Sorry. First of all, I've written an article on hemoglobin A1C and how you can sometimes, it's not a perfect way of determining your blood sugar over time. There's some genetic differences. I don't know there's some racial differences in some cases. People who have thalassemia trait have distortions in it. It's a lot of ways that it can be a little misleading. So I would suggest that this guy use a glucose monitor. And
Yeah. Continuous glucose monitor is a great idea.
yeah, a CM, what do you
So
call
valuable.
it? CMG?
Yeah.
CGM.
Mhm.
And, just see what his blood sugar responses are to foods and see if they're sky high. And that would be a better way of determining if there really is a blood sugar problem. Yeah, repeat the hemoglobin A1C. But it's such a low dose of Crestor. I mean, usually that happens with higher doses of statin drugs, and more often in women.
5 milligram Crestor that he took for 5 months,
Mm-hmm.
and his A1C shot up from 5.7 to 6.1.
Shot up is not exactly. I mean, there could be wobble in the test. That's only like maybe a 10% increase. That's not much.
Yeah.
0.5,
Yeah.
on a 0.5.
Can we just say,
Yeah,
can we just say that 5.7 was high to begin with?
Yeah. Suggesting
that's right at the border of pre-diabetes right there.
Yeah.
So even though your husband's athletic, he's 5'10" at 148, that's fine, that's wonderful, but you don't have to be overweight. You could be skinny and have a blood sugar abnormality. You could be skinny and have diabetes. We've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have lean diabetes. Your husband is not diabetic, not now, and he's going to reverse this whole trend. But something is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or
continuous glucose monitor would really help to reveal what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, people are saying they're low carb, Dr. Hoffman, and then they're having a sweet potato with the steak, and woo! And they look at the CGM and they see what's going on with the sweet potato.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. So make yourself a little bit of a science fair project and check it out.
Yes, and then let us know. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Best of luck to you. Best of health to you both. All right. Let's see here. Oh,
and by the way, on some of these questions, we invite sequels. I mean, what we can't do is we can't have you check in with us every week, for every, pain, because it'd be like,
it's not a consult.
Exactly. It's like, but
what
we do
what you're offering is an interesting case study.
Yeah, exactly. And, we want to get some feedback, like what happens when you repeat the test, or what happened when you try something that we suggest, or, undertake a medication, or, that I think is a use case for a follow-up report or question, remember me, I did this and that and the other thing, last year. I want to give you the results.
Yeah. And coming back to the continuous glucose monitor, the CGM, you don't need a doctor's prescription anymore.
No.
You could buy this on your own over the counter.
Yep.
It's not even as expensive as it was before.
Yep.
You could probably get one for well under $100.
Yeah, which is great.
So it's great to be able to collect the data and just see what's happening. And there are some you could even look in real time at what's going on, which is really fabulous.
Yeah, it's a teachable moment.
For all of you data analysis geeks, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I had someone in my family, and she, when she was pregnant, they routinely checked for blood sugar, and they said, your hemoglobin A1C was a little higher, your spot blood sugar was high. So I said, get a CGM. And she said, wow, that was so informative, because I noticed that some things that I wouldn't really suspect would send my blood sugar into the stratosphere were actually really affecting my blood sugar. And so I eliminated those few foods that were implicated, and I brought my blood sugar under control. And now that she's not pregnant, she continues to follow that, because she noticed what her triggers were for elevated blood sugar. So this is a useful thing to do. Even if you're healthy, even if you're non-diabetic, you don't have to be diabetic.
Okay. All right, we've got a question here from Cal. Please let me know of a good foot cream. Cal, what do you need the foot cream for? Is it for moisturizing? Is it for cracked heels? Is it for fungus or athlete's foot? What kind of a foot cream are you looking for?
Yeah.
That would be
I think a simple all-purpose, one of the things that comes to mind, a simple all-purpose foot cream would be coconut oil, because it actually,
absolutely.
It's kind of a Swiss Army knife thing, because it is a emollient moisturizer, but it also has
It's
some antioxidant
antimicrobial.
properties and antimicrobial properties, antifungal properties,
Oh, good.
and it smells decent, right? You know, like a lot
It
of people have like a
does.
foot odor problem, so
Hmm.
just get extra
Yeah,
virgin coconut oil, and it kind of
right.
looks like Brill cream, or like
Hmm.
it's white, solid at room temperature. And
Yeah,
when you rub it in, it
yeah,
sort of melts into your skin because the skin has a higher temperature. And,
right.
that could be helpful.
Yeah,
But we don't
that could
know
be
exactly
helpful.
what your problem is, you know.
Yeah. Make sure your feet are clean. Make sure they are dry,
Mm-hmm.
even between your toes, and then put the cream on. Right. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe you want to put on a pair of socks if you're
Right.
suffering with dryness or something
Yeah,
like
you don't
that,
want to put
right?
like coconut footprints all over your linoleum or,
Exactly, that too. All over the. We know where Cal went.
right.
Look at the footprints.
Do I have to call my liability policy company when I give out information like that? Because
I
it's
know.
like I'm going to get like a summons and complaint for a slip and fall from this guy, who like, yeah, I put
Oh
the
boy.
coconut cream on, but just broke my leg.
Yeah. Oh no.
It's like, no, you were
Oh
supposed
no.
to put socks on over it, sir.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You don't want to slip and slide around all over the place. Thank you for your question, Cal. All right. Um, let's see here. Do we have time for
Yeah,
another
we do. Yep, we
question?
do. We do.
Great, great. Actually, we've got a great comment from Louise.
Okay.
Dr. Hoffman, I followed Dr. Teitelbaum's advice for pain
Hmm.
with the heating pad, and it worked.
Oh, okay.
I knew, yeah, she says, I knew it would, but it worked really fast. My leg muscles from exercise were really hurting.
Yeah.
And after a few applications of the heating pad at different points, I gained my mobility again and no more pain. I love your guests. They are the best.
Okay, so this is interesting. Let me refer back to that conversation, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
we did a thing on pain with him, and it's a great podcast. You can listen to it because he has some great, and they're different. There's so many different types of pain, and he goes into each type of pain, and he really breaks it down wonderfully. And occasionally medication is appropriate, but he's more about like an intelligent medicine, natural approach. And so I'm actually going to have another conversation with him on another theme later next month. But by the way, written the great book From Fatigue to Fantastic, and he's got a new book on post-COVID, long COVID. That's Dr. Teitelbaum.
Yes.
So there's this thing called RICE if you injure yourself. So it's like rest, ice, compression, and elevation, right? When you sprain an ankle, let's say you sprained an ankle. And so I said, what do you think of the RICE protocol? And he said, well, there's problems with it. I mean, it kind of makes sense because, initially when you have an injury, icing it is helpful because icing it reduces the circulation, and it's actually the blood that goes there and the inflammatory substances that accumulate that are responsible for some of the pain initially. So yeah, maybe ice. Okay. And certainly rest makes sense, but rest also doesn't make sense because if you have like back pain, just, being bedbound is a really bad idea. You want to keep mobile. You actually want to keep mobile.
Yeah.
So rest to a certain extent. Ice, maybe very initially, but actually, if you want to bring healing, you want to actually apply warmth. You want to apply warmth because you want to increase circulation because circulation is going to it's going to bring blood, it's going to bring nutrients and reparative substances. And in fact, this is what my personal trainer says. He says, if you're sore, I'll say some days, I'm really sore. I had like a really heavy workout. He'll say, well, let's just bring a little blood into your tissues because that's going to facilitate healing, eliminate some of the lactic acid. And so we do a light workout that is designed to revascularize these areas and, move out some of the inflammatory byproducts of exercise. And, so yeah, compression, okay, but not to the point where it impedes circulation. And elevation, yeah, okay, that's why you put your feet up because you don't want the blood to pool in the lower extremities after an injury down there. But, the whole paradigm needs to be reexamined. And I think even the guy who promoted that paradigm has said, yeah, I'm starting to rethink that. It's not a necessarily a rule of thumb.
Okay. There you go.
I think we have time for like one bonus question. Can we squeeze one in?
Okay. Let's see here.
No extra charge. No extra charge, folks.
Yeah.
One question.
Roseanne has a question on herbs and supplements. She asks, I would like to know how long a break one should take with these. Mm-hmm. I've read that you should take a break for a month from herbs and supplements. What say you?
This is a controversial notion because we know, for example, that with medicine, there is something called tachyphylaxis, which means that the longer you take a medication, the more you downregulate your receptors for that medication. And that's one of the reasons why people need more medication sometimes, more pain medication. They can eventually more sleep medication. You become resistant to the effect. So that's why it is sometimes recommended that people go on drug holidays, right? Like short-term vacations where they don't take it. And then once they retake it, it'll be more efficacious. I have to say that it kind of makes sense with supplements. It hasn't really been studied. And I don't do that unless it's by accident. Like I go somewhere and I forgot to take this. Or I forgot to
Or you run out of something and you forgot to reorder.
Yeah, and then I go, hey, maybe the way I rationalize is like, hey, maybe that's okay because once I restart it, my body will be more receptive to it. But, I can't say that there's any strong evidence pro or con on that. And you got to be aware of people who say something like really authoritative, like you have to take a month off from your supplements every 6 months. I wish I could be as authoritative as some of these influencers who get on and say all manner of things with great confidence. So, again, theoretically, maybe, but I don't do that. And I don't really believe that the supplements are less efficacious for that reason. You could just
take a break. I don't take a break from my supplements. It's only in the case where I forgot to reorder and I was running low.
I mean, do we take a break? We do take a break from eating, intermittent fasting. There is something to that.
Sure.
Do we take a break from breathing? Do we take a break from exercising? Do we take a break from sleeping? There's some things that, on a continuous basis are good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't see a reason to take a break, Roseanne.
I mean, there are people who say the same thing with diet. They say, well, you should cycle your diet, like you should have like high protein, but don't always have high protein, sometimes have protein deprivation, because then when you reintroduce the protein, your body will be more avid for the protein. I mean, there's all kinds of these theories that don't have strong foundations.
Yeah. True. Golly. Yeah. I can't think of a reason to take a break.
Another example is like, if you're taking blood pressure medication and you really have high blood pressure, it's probably not such a great idea to stop the medication, right? It's like...
Oh, no. Yeah, that's medication. That is different from your supplement and herb regimen. That is different. So you want to be careful with prescriptions and always under the supervision of your doctor.
I think the exception, and this should be, again, with the doctors, is like psychiatric medication. It may be that one way of not losing the efficacy of a medication is to taper it and then maybe reintroduce it. But, psychiatrists, I think, differ in their strategies on using medications.
Yeah. Interesting. Roseanne, thank you for your question. A reminder to everyone to email your questions to questions@drhoffman.net. That is questions@drhoffman.net.
Indeed. Take advantage of our full script dispensary at drhoffmanstore.com, because that's where you'll find some of the supplements that we talk about here, and you can be assured of quality, quality controlled, and the supplements are properly vetted to make sure that they have adequate potency and that they're not adulterated or counterfeit. So drhoffmanstore.com. Get in on the Full Script dispensary where you can hunt down literally thousands of high-quality supplements.
Yeah, you can get, and you will get speedy delivery, so you don't have to take a break from your supplements.
Indeed. And that reminds me, I've got a delivery coming up. So it should be arriving today. I just ordered a couple of days ago. Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Leyla. Have yourself a great week.
Thanks,
and
Dr.
we'll reconvene again next week for Q&A with Leyla. Questions at drhoffman.net. Gets you right into the doctor's office for a session with the both of us. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything Intelligent Medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations.
This is Leyla Muden, registered dietitian nutritionist. I maintain a private practice and see patients regularly. If you require a nutrition consult with me but live out of town, there's no need to travel to New York City. I have telephone and telehealth consultations with clients from all over the country. Please visit drhoffman.com for more information. And to set up an appointment, call 212-779-1744. That's 212-779-1744. I look forward to being a collaborator in your healthcare.